Hi folks, this is Jason. Hope you're okay today. It's good to see you. And just sharing you a couple of thoughts concerning the hypocrisy and contradictions within atheism. One of the hypocrisies and contradictions within atheism is there's this kind of mythology that goes around with atheism today, that all we need to do is get rid of religion and get back to some kind of rationality. And as we get back to some kind of rationality, things will be much better with the world. Notice they've dropped the utopianism. Atheism used to have a utopianism where they thought rationality would actually solve the problems of the world, but that went out the window after the First and the Second World War. People realised that humanism, rationality would never solve all the problems of the world. So anyhow, the utopianism's gone, so they're not as ambitious in their statements now. But basically, if we get rid of religion and get to some rationality, things are just going to be a lot better. The problem with that is it kind of demonizes people of religious faith, whatever religious faith that may be. It's particularly against those who advocate Christianity, Judaism, or Islam. The problem with that is many of the best scientists, philosophers, and thinkers throughout history have been Christian or Jewish or Islamic. Not to say that all of them have. There have been many great atheist scientists, philosophers, and thinkers. But to say that great thinkers was just to say the exclusion of atheist or humanist or secularist or whatever you want to call them, and I know they're going to say the atheist, well, they're not all the same, but whether you say that it was the secularist, atheist, or humanist, you cannot take credit for all the great advances in science and philosophy and the history of Western thinking as atheist. It's simply not credible and not fair. There's been such a wealth of, for example, from the Christian faith, in the mix of the development of science and of philosophy and of Western thinking even today from Christian thinkers. Anyhow, the point that I want to get mainly is this, is that the hypocrisy and the contradiction is this, is that, you see, the idea that if we just get rid of religion and get back to some kind of rationality with the scientific method thrown in, that everything is going to be a lot better, fails to consideration that we are human beings, we're finite, and because we're human beings and finite, many times even the greatest thinkers who claim to be rational can be irrational and also can be contradictory in their comments. For example, just look at Bertrand Russell. On the eve of the Second World War in 1939, Bertrand Russell went around the university campuses of America lecturing on the problem of the possibility of the outbreak of the Second World War in Europe. Now on March 28th in Los Angeles, Bertrand Russell endorses American isolationism, Bertrand Russell the atheist. On the 28th in Los Angeles, Russell endorses American isolationism. This is in 1939. Excuse me. On April the 4th, speaking in New Orleans, he urges the United States to ally itself with England and France. So within a short period of time he's contradicted himself. On April the 9th in New York City and again in Philadelphia, he exhorts the US to avoid alliance with any side. Rather, it was the duty of the United States to assert the role of the world dictator. On April the 5th, he writes a letter to Franklin Roosevelt as from one world leader to another, congratulating him for making peace overtures to Hitler and Mussolini. Only in September, on the day after the announcement of the Nazi-Soviet pact, does Russell throw his weight solidly behind the American support for England and France. Apart from his short-lived infatuation with the Bolshevik miracle, he never thought that any war against Russia was immoral. All through the rise of Hitler, he urged the countrymen to support Germany in any war it might wage against the barbaric Russians. So what I'm saying is, here's a man in the atheist, humanist, secular tradition who, within 1 year, 1939, contradicts himself a number of times on the same issue. And what I just use that as an example that human beings are fallible people, and yes, we need to be reasonable, and Christianity endorses the use of reason, by the way. But we have to be honest, and we have to admit that even those who advocate such rationality and reason can often be the biggest contradictory fools in history, can make the biggest and stupid comments and mistakes, as well as great advancements in science and in thinking, at the same time can make the most stupidest and irrational comments and be contradictory. And what that means is we have to be more humble. Rather than point the problem at religion, why not just look at our own selves? It's no good, for example, Bertrand Russell critiquing Christianity when his own life he was full of mass contradictions. For example, the way he treated women was terrible. He broke his wife's heart, he ran off with a woman, and he was horrible with women. So it's no good attacking religion, that it needs to be more rational, when it's not actually true, when Christianity is very rational. But look at your own life, and you'll find within your own life those who are the self-righteous prophets of rationalism, that you are self-righteous prophets of rationalism, Pharisees of rationalism, where you are within your own life full of mass contradictions in terms of rationality. You'll say, I hold to everything that is logical and everything based on evidence and reason, and you will find you will hold many things that you have no evidence for. You will believe many things that you have no evidence for, and not only that, you'll have a mass of contradictions within your own belief system. Just as, for example, how within 1 year Bertrand Russell contradicted himself a number of times. The moral of the tale is just to be humble, to stop propagating demonization against religion, but to be a bit more humble and a bit more introspective as to your own faults as self-righteous, rational Pharisees, and realize your own contradictions and your own rational hypocrisies. And in doing so, one will treat other people with more humility and be willing to learn from other people, whether they be religious or not. And always remember that to demonize religious people as if they are not rational is another source of Pharisaical rationalism. Thank you for listening, and take care. God bless you. This is Jason reporting on the hypocrisy and the self-contradiction of the rationalist. God bless you. Take care.